Good morning. Welcome back to another beautiful day on Mull. I knew it was going to be nice today. I took holiday on Friday and it rained and back to work today. And yeah, anyway, today's message from Mull, we're going to talk a little bit about one of the other principles of fitness that we haven't spoke about just yet. I've mentioned it briefly, and that principle is overload. And this ties in quite well with what we spoke about last week in terms of the principle of variance. Now, the principle of overload just merely means that in order to elicit a physiological response from our body, we have to take it away from what is normal. We have to take it far enough away from its sort of rest position via some sort of training or activity in order for it to produce some physiological adaptations. And I know that might seem not exactly rocket science. Basically, you have to get to a slightly uncomfortable place before the body will adapt and become fitter or stronger or a better user of oxygen or whatever our final outcome goal is. So there are different ways of doing that. As fitness instructors, we tend to think along the lines of the FIT principle, which is frequency, intensity, time, and type of exercise. And so what we're looking at perhaps is, for those of you who are starting to walk, can you walk a little bit faster? Can you walk maybe a little bit further? Can you look to get more steps on your Fitbit? Can you lift a slightly heavier weight? So if you're been doing squats in the house, for example, and you're starting to find that they're becoming a lot more comfortable, and you're not getting the same burn in the big muscle tissue that we're after in the thigh and the hamstring and the buttocks, then could you introduce a little bit more weight, as Katie did on the exercise of the day last Friday, when she was talking about varying your exercise routine again to give a physiological response. So could you lift a couple of bags of flour like she did, or one bag of flour, just to add that little bit of extra weight perhaps when you're doing your exercise? Could you have a look for some little hills when you're out on your walk? And I know this sounds very much like the principle of variance, and it is, they tie in very well together. But the real message is that we need to put our body into a state where it's slightly more uncomfortable before it will adapt and progress and get fitter, which is the eventual outcome for most of us. Now, I thought I would use this gate. I didn't pick a gate as my backdrop without a plan. So I'm going to give you a little idea here of what we're talking about. So I want you to imagine the middle of the gate where I'm going to stand is where a lot of us reside at the minute. So at rest, this is where I am in terms of my fitness. I better get rid of this. So over here where my buff is where I would go if I was particularly deconditioned. So if I don't train on days, weeks, months, I'm going to start edging towards this side of my fitness levels, and this is really deconditioned over here. And it will not happen overnight, but slowly over time, through lack of activity, then I'll be moving this way. When we train our bodies, we take it away from our rest position, from what is normal for us. So every time I train, I'll be moving towards where the helmet is here. Let's call that peak fitness. Now, for a lot of us, we're not going to get there. Okay, it's the domain of athletes who work really, really hard to get to incredible levels of fitness. But every time we work away from what is normal, we take a step this way. And then as our body fights back to rest during the recovery phase after exercise, we come back to our rest position. And each time we train, we take our body away and then we come back. But as you see, I'm starting to move slowly towards peak fitness. So every time I train, I recover, and my normal becomes a little bit closer to my eventual outcome, where I'd like to be heading towards. So we actually develop as we recover after exercise. As our body fights back to what we consider to be rest, that's when we get the physiological adaptations. Now, that doesn't mean that the further I take my body away from rest each time, I'm going to get huge adaptations all the time. It's a gradual process, and we have to listen to our bodies all the time. So there will be signs that you're pushing too hard. It's about finding a happy medium. So if I train too hard, I'll actually start ending up going towards this side, to the deconditioned side, because my body will not be able to cope with the exercise levels that I'm pushing through it. So it may be that I'm lifting too heavy, or it may be that the volume is wrong. So maybe I'm overtraining, and I need to start incorporating maybe some active recovery days where I'm still moving, but I'm not doing the actual physical exercise part of my regular training pattern. Even the cuckoo's come out for you this morning, right? So bear that in mind. It's as we recover that we develop. So after our training, after our exercise, it's important that we treat ourselves well in terms of hydration levels and food going in. And like I say, that maybe in between training days we have some active recovery. So it could be going for a walk, it could be getting the bike out and have a little tootle along the seafront, and it could be doing some light gardening. But listen to the signals that your body is sending you, and if you're starting to develop a lot of fatigue, muscle soreness, they're two of the primary symptoms we will get when we start to overtrain. Now, for most of us, that's probably not going to be a problem. Just bear it in mind, because we now have changes to guidelines where we can train more than once a day. We can go out more than once a day as of last night. And I think that's a good thing, because it allows people who perhaps can't do long periods of exercise, a 10-minute walk might be enough for them. It allows them to go and do that perhaps twice a day. But it's not about training hard, remember, it's about training smart, and be smart when you're out and about. So let's not open the floodgates. Let's still adhere to social distancing. Still wash your hands. So the virology hasn't changed. The virus hasn't changed. It still transmits the same way. So just train smart and make sure you still stick to the guidelines that have been handed down. Being alert is not going to stop this virus. I'm not sure that's the right word. Be smart. Being smart will help to stop this virus. And hopefully you will get out, enjoy this fantastic weather, and as always, please stay safe. And if you're watching on the YouTube channel, then please subscribe. And we'll catch up with you later, guys. Bye bye.